My mom placed her new will in my hands as if she were passing me a recipe card. "We're going to leave everything to Mark and his kids. You won't be receiving a dime." I smiled. Just like that, calm, as if she hadn't just stabbed me through the chest. Perfect. "Then don't expect a dime from me." I turned around and walked away. To make you understand how we reached that moment, I have to tell you what happened before. My name is Alexis, and I'm 36 years old. I work for a major international trade corporation. I'm the director of key accounts. It sounds fancy, sure, but in simple terms, I handle the heavy hitters, the clients who move serious money and demand results. And the truth is, they pay me well, very well. I didn't get there by luck. It cost me years. College, then an MBA, and workdays that seemed to never end. I spent my time climbing the corporate ladder rung by rung, without shortcuts. Now I have my own place in a nice part of the city, a Mercedes that drives so smoothly it feels like it's floating, and a bank account that would make anyone's eyes pop. If you ask me, "Are you doing well?" I would tell you, yes, I'm doing well. But my parents don't see it that way. To them, something is always missing. Every time I visit them, it's the same thing. "Alexis, when are you going to get married?" "Alexis, don't fool yourself. Your biological clock is ticking." "Alexis, don't you want kids?" As if my entire life could be summarized by a ring on my finger. And of course there is always the perfect example. My older brother Mark. Mark is 38. He married Sarah right out of college, and they had 4 kids. Tommy, the oldest, is already 15. Then there's Jake, who is 13. Then Emily, who is 9, and little Lily, who is 6. My parents melt for those kids. Their faces change, their eyes light up, as if someone turned on floodlights inside them every time Mark arrives with the brood. And Sarah. I can't deal with Sarah. She has this way of tilting her head and looking at me with a little smile of pity, as if I were a pending project. "Alexis," she says in that soft voice, the kind that makes you angry on the inside. "I have a cousin who is also single. Good job. Very serious guy. I can introduce you." I always answered politely, "That's sweet of you, Sarah. But right now, I'm focused on my career." What I wanted to say was something else entirely, but I was raised differently. The funny thing is that while they sit there judging my life, they've never been ashamed to accept my money. Because yes, my money. It all started 3 years ago. My dad spoke to me with a voice I didn't recognize. He sounded tired, worried. "Lexi, honey, we're struggling with the mortgage. Your mom has been dealing with health issues, and I had to stop working for a while. We just can't make ends meet anymore." I didn't even think about it. They are my parents. How was I going to say no? I started paying the mortgage on their house month after month. It was a heavy monthly payment, one of those that's over $2,500. I covered it for 3 full years without missing a single one. And then came the rest, as if it were a list that never ended. First, the electric bill came in incredibly high. There I go, I pay the power company. Then the heating bill was overdue. I paid the gas company. Then the water bill was coming in super expensive. I paid the water. Then my dad. The internet is so slow, it's useless. I signed them up for a premium high-speed fiber package. Then one day, my mom, as if she were talking about the weather, said, "I saw on TV that there are smart houses now. That would be so cool. Imagine being able to tell the microwave to heat up, and that's it." Instead of laughing, I opened my wallet. I bought them a new smart fridge, washer, dryer, microwave, and dishwasher. Plus, I set up the entire system to be voice-controlled and app-controlled. It included a central hub, installation, and a monthly tech support plan. Everything remained in my name because they asked me to do it that way so it would be easier. My mom was fascinated. She showed it off to her friends. "Watch, watch," she'd say, as if it were a magic show. "Microwave, heat the coffee." And when the beep sounded, her friends would drop their jaws. Oh, how modern. What my mom never said was who paid for it. That part she always forgot. And then came Mark. The car loan. I can't make the payments. It's just a little push. And whose name do you think ended up on the paperwork as the co-signer? Mine. I also ended up paying part of their insurance and expenses. And then, since family is family, I started covering the kids' activities. Soccer, piano lessons, summer camps. Thousands of dollars went there that nobody counted. And when they wanted to go on vacation all together, there was Aunt Alexis paying for the hotel and the plane tickets. I kept repeating to myself, I can do it. It's fine. It's my family. But sometimes I would lie awake thinking, when was the last time any of them said thank you? Not a quick thanks before asking for something else. A real thank you. I couldn't remember one. Last month, finally, I made the last mortgage payment. 3 years. It was over. The house was theirs, debt-free. I called my mom, excited. Honestly, I was happy about it. Mom, it's done. I just made the last payment. The house is officially yours. My mom squealed as if she had been given a huge gift. Oh, Lexi, that's wonderful. We have to celebrate. I'm going to make your favorite dishes. Come over on Saturday. Mark is coming with Sarah and the kids, she insisted, more than usual. She repeated it twice as if it were urgent for me to be there. I took it as excitement. Saturday arrived, and I left around 6 p.m. I left my place in the city and headed out to the suburbs. It was late. The metro area traffic was still heavy, but I still arrived with time to spare. I brought a bottle of wine. As soon as I opened the door, the smell of homemade food hit me, and for a second, I forgot all the accumulated fatigue. Mark's car was already in the driveway. That meant, as always, they arrived first. I walked into the dining room, and there they were. Mark with that I deserve everything face. Sarah with her fake smile plastered on. The kids arguing over who sat where. My dad serving, and my mom going back and forth, attending to everything. The table was full. Pot roast with gravy, rice, salad, beans, warm rolls, and for dessert, flan. It was a big meal. The kind made when the family wants to look good. We sat down, started eating, everything normal, until it wasn't. My dad adjusted himself in his chair and said, very solemnly, well, today is a special day. This house is finally ours. Mark, without looking up much, muttered, thanks to Alexis. But he said it weirdly. My mom rushed to add, yes, thanks to Alexis. The kids, oblivious, kept eating, talking about their stuff. But I saw something I didn't like. Mark and Sarah were looking at each other, a quick glance, then another as if they were communicating without speaking. We finished dinner. My mom got up to clear the table and then said, before dessert, your father and I want to tell you something. My stomach tightened. In my family, when someone says that, it's never for good news. My mom went to a cabinet and pulled out a manila folder thick, well kept. The realization hit me all at once. Folders like that don't appear at a dinner by casual coincidence. What's going on? I asked. My mom smiled as if it were nothing. She sat down, opened the folder, and pulled out some papers. We went to the attorney, she said. And we updated the will. My dad nodded. To have everything in order. I looked at the table. The kids were still doing their thing. Mark and Sarah were too quiet, attentive, as if they were watching the end of a movie. My mom continued. We thought about the future, about what's best for the family. She placed the document on the table in front of her. From where I was, I could see the notary seals. Then she looked straight at me. We decided that when we are gone, everything we have, the house, the savings, everything is going to be for Mark and the kids. I felt as if someone had delivered a dry punch to my chest. I stared at her, waiting for her to continue, to say my name, to clarify that there was a part, something, anything. But no. My mom kept talking as if she were explaining a grocery purchase. Alexis, you're fine. You have your job, your house, your things. You don't need anything. My dad finished it off. And Mark has 4 children. We have to think about college, about everything that's coming. I blinked. It was hard to speak. Are you saying you're cutting me out? My mom didn't even flinch. We're not cutting you out, honey. We're being practical. Practical. I felt like my brain couldn't process it. You waited until I finished paying off the mortgage to tell me this? The question hung in the air. My parents looked at each other. But I didn't see shame. I didn't see embarrassment. If anything, I saw annoyance, as if I were ruining the moment. My mom spoke with that patient voice she used when I was a child and got intense. Alexis, understand something. Family helps each other. You can help, so you help. That's how it works. I looked at her in disbelief. And you're telling me that I'm not going to receive anything precisely because I'm doing well, because I worked and because I helped you? Sarah cleared her throat, sounding very sure of herself. Alexis, you're exaggerating. Your parents just want to be fair. I turned to look at her. She had that face of triumph, as if she had already won. Fair? I repeated. Seriously? Sarah adjusted her body in the chair like someone preparing to give an explanation. Mark and I have struggled. It's 4 kids. Everything is so expensive. You're single. You earn well. You don't need an inheritance, Mark added with a victim tone. You've always been the successful one. Your job, your house. We're just trying to get ahead. That's when I felt that heat rising to my chest, to my face, everywhere. You're telling me this after I've spent 3 years paying the mortgage and 1,000 other things? My mom raised her hand as if wanting to control the scene. Alexis, calm down. This is a celebration. I stood up. No, I'm not going to calm down. This is disrespectful. Sarah rolled her eyes as if I were a lost cause. You're making a scene. You should talk to someone, a therapist. That anger isn't healthy. I looked at her fixedly. Not healthy? And so, why have you been so comfortable taking my money? The table went silent. Mark lowered his gaze to his plate. Sarah turned red. My parents stared at me as if I were a stranger. I looked at all of them. My family. The people I had supported for years. And there they were, telling me to my face that I wasn't worth enough to be in their will because I was doing well. I took a deep breath. I'm going to remember this, I said quietly. I grabbed my purse and walked toward the door. My mom called out, Alexis. I didn't turn around. I walked out and slammed the door shut. Driving back was like going on autopilot. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, and the conversation repeated in my head over and over. They planned it. They waited until I finished paying the mortgage, and then they dropped the bomb. I got to my condo, poured myself a glass of wine, and sat staring at the wall. I felt angry, hurt, and yes, also stupid. The next day, I woke up with a bitter taste in my mouth and a horrible headache. I slept 3 hours, if I was lucky. The night was just spinning everything around in my mind. But something changed. The pain was still there, yes, but behind it came something else. Determination. I wasn't going to sit back with my arms crossed. Monday morning, I called my lawyer, David Miller. He helped me when I bought my condo and when I made my own will. He was direct and didn't beat around the bush. When I told him everything, he fell silent for a moment. Alexis, I'm sorry. Family disputes over money are the worst. Tell me one thing, I asked. I paid that mortgage for 3 years. Does that count for nothing? David sighed. The problem is that you weren't on the deed or the loan. Legally, you were making voluntary payments. It doesn't make you the owner, nor does it give you an automatic right. I felt my stomach drop. So, there's nothing to be done? Not necessarily, he said. Look at it another way. You've been supporting them in various things, right? And if you stop doing it? I stayed silent. David continued. Easy. If someone tells you that you don't deserve to be in their will, the logical thing is for you to reconsider how beneficial it is for you to continue being so generous with your money. A slow smile drew across my face. David, you're a genius. I hung up. I opened my laptop and started. First, I called the internet provider. I want to cancel the internet service for my parents' house. Can you confirm the address? 428 Elm Street. Confirm the account holder. It's me. Reason for cancellation? I'm not paying for it anymore. Then I called the company that managed the smart home system, the hub, and the support. I want to cancel the support plan for the address at 428 Elm Street. Ma'am, if you cancel, the voice control and app access will be deactivated. Without the plan, we no longer provide assistance or reconfiguration. I understand. Cancel it. They tried to convince me, think it over, they'll be left without support. I was already decided. After that, I spoke to the finance company for Mark's car. I need to put on record that I will no longer cover that loan. I appear as a cosigner. The person on the phone explained what I already imagined, that notices would start, there would be late fees, and the process would follow its course. That's fine, I said. I just wanted to make it clear. I logged into my online banking and canceled everything that was auto-debited from my account related to them. Bills, services, tuition for activities, camps, everything. Then I spoke with the insurance company. I want to adjust my policy. I no longer want to cover other people or vehicles that aren't mine. The operator asked for names and data. I gave them to her. Ready, ma'am? It will be applied at your next renewal, and those charges will no longer be reflected on your current bills. It took me about 2 hours to undo 3 years of support, and with every call, I swear I felt my body getting lighter, as if I were removing a burden that had become part of my life. From there, the noise started. That same day, as soon as the internet went down and the voice control stopped responding, my phone didn't stop. I was at the office mid-morning, walking into a meeting. When I saw my mom's name on the screen, I declined the call. She called again. I declined again. Then my dad. Declined. Then Mark. Declined. By lunchtime, I already had 17 missed calls. Then the text messages started. My mom. Alexis, there's no internet and nothing is responding. I can't turn on the microwave with my voice. Call me. My dad. What did you do? The house isn't responding. We don't even know how to work it. Sarah. This is childish. Your parents are elderly. You're acting like a spoiled brat. I didn't answer. In the following days, other messages were added. That the technician came, that reconfiguration is needed, that we have to pay for reinstallation, that without support it's super expensive. And I remained the same. Silence. Then came the car issue. 3 weeks later, creditors were already all over Mark for late payments, and one morning he called me like a madman. Alexis. They came for the car. They towed it. I have to go to work. Call me now. I deleted the message. That night I was preparing dinner when the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole, and there were the 4 of them standing at my door. My mom, my dad, Mark, and Sarah looked furious. I opened the door, but I didn't step aside to invite them in. What do you want? My mom walked in anyway, as if my house were also hers. We have to talk. I don't think so, I said. My dad entered behind her, serious. This has gone too far. Your mother can't use anything like before. She doesn't understand the system. We have no internet, and the technician says we have to pay for reconfiguration and support, and we don't have the money right now. My mom had glassy eyes, on the verge of crying. He told us that, without the plan, everything is more expensive. He said to leave it as it was. We have to pay for installation again. Do you have any idea how much that costs? I looked at her without blinking. Not my problem. Mark stepped forward. Alexis, I need the car. I have to go to work. I looked at him calmly. You should have thought about that before deciding I'm not worth being in the will. Sarah crossed her arms. See? This is exactly what I was saying. You're being resentful. Your parents are suffering because of your tantrum. My tantrum? I repeated. I felt the heat rising, but I controlled it. You want to talk about suffering? I've been paying for your lives for 3 years. 3 years. And the only thing I received was a will where you leave me out and a dinner to tell me to my face that my worth is measured by whether I have a husband or not. My mom lifted her chin. We never asked you to pay for everything. I looked at her incredulously. Seriously? My voice cracked just a little, but I didn't back down. Every time you called me, it was about money. The mortgage, the bills, the internet, the appliances, and I said yes because I thought you appreciated it, because I thought I was part of this family too. My dad stepped closer, wanting to sound firm. That's what family helps family means. I walked to the front door and opened it wide. No, that's not family. That's an ATM. My mom froze. Alexis, please, can we fix this? We can go to the attorney tomorrow and talk about it. I laughed without humor. Talk about it? After you waited for me to finish paying the mortgage to drop this on me? Mark spoke up, wanting to lower the tone. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that, I cut him off. Exactly like that. Sarah opened her mouth. We do appreciate what you did. I looked at her. When? Tell me when. Because I don't remember a single thank you from any of you. They stood there staring at me as if I were crazy. Maybe I looked crazy, but inside, for the first time in years, I felt clear. I said, get out, all of you, and don't come back. My mom took a step toward me. Lexi. I pointed to the door. You already made it clear that when you die, I won't receive a dime. Well, you won't be receiving a dime from me while you're alive either." I stood holding the door open until they finally left. Mark was the last one. He turned as if wanting to say something. "Don't even try," I told him. "No." I closed the door, locked it, poured myself some water, and sat at the kitchen table. This time it wasn't wine. I wanted to be present. For the first time in 3 years, I wasn't thinking about other people's bills, or payments, or emergencies. I was free. The first few weeks were a delicious silence. I threw myself into my work. Without the stress of fixing everyone's lives, I could actually focus. I closed 2 huge clients. My boss congratulated me. My bank account stopped draining and finally started growing again. But silence doesn't last when you have nosy family. A month later, my cousin Rachel called me my mom's sister's daughter, the typical one who always knows everything and tells everyone. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. "Alexis," Rachel said, "I heard about what happened with your parents. Your mom called mine crying. She says you cut off their internet, that you shut down their house, and that Mark had his car taken away." I let out a short laugh. "That's what she told you?" "She says you're being resentful because they didn't put you in the will. But there has to be something else." Rachel wanted the full story, and honestly, I didn't care anymore. "Yes, there is more, Rachel. I paid their mortgage for 3 years, every month. I also paid for electricity, gas, water, internet. I bought them appliances, paid for the kids' stuff, and Mark's car had a loan where I was the co-signer. I supported everyone." Rachel fell silent. "My aunt never mentioned that." "Of course not," I said. "They took my money for years, and just when I finished paying off the mortgage, they announced they were cutting me out because I'm doing well." Rachel let out a breath. "No. That is messed up. That's why I stopped paying. If I'm not worth being in their will, then I'm not worth supporting them either." Rachel sounded sincere for the first time. "Good for you. That's awful that they did that." And it spread. In families, everything spreads. In the following weeks, I found out through other relatives about the disaster. My parents had to pay in installments to get the system half working again. In the end, since they didn't want to or couldn't keep paying for support, they went back to basics. They changed some things, left others as best they could, all without the luxury of before. My dad, who had been out of work for over a year, got a job at a hardware store. At 64 years old, on his feet all day again, moving merchandise and helping customers. My mom complained to anyone who would listen, saying it was humiliating. Mark was doing badly too. He ended up buying a used car that broke down every other day. The kids quit soccer and piano because there was no money, and Sarah, to make ends meet, took a part-time job at Walmart. There were even rumors that Mark and his family might move in with my parents to save on rent. 4 kids in the grandparents' house in a small space? Good luck with that. One day another cousin, Jeanette, called me laughing. "Alexis, I have gossip. Yesterday I saw your mom at the supermarket. She was saying that you're an ungrateful daughter, that you left her all alone, and a neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, answered her. Well, look, if my daughter had paid my mortgage for 3 years, I'd be grateful." I couldn't help letting out a laugh. And what did my mom say? She turned red and walked away. She stayed quiet. That's when I understood that the real version was getting out. Not because I was shouting it, but because the truth carries weight. Did I feel a little guilt? Yes, a little. I didn't want to humiliate my parents, but I wasn't going to allow them to paint me as the villain either. A few months later, I ran into Mark at the grocery store. He looked different, tired, older. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair needed a cut, and his cart was full of generic brands. The basics. We saw each other. He swallowed hard. "Hi," he said uncomfortably. We stood there like 2 strangers. Finally, he spoke. "The kids ask about you sometimes. They don't understand why you don't come around anymore." I breathed slowly. "And what do you tell them?" Mark lowered his gaze. "I don't know. That you're busy." Then he looked up as if wanting me to save him again. "Alexis, I know we made a mistake. Mom and Dad didn't handle it well. But cutting us off like this is harsh." I looked him straight in the eye. "Harsh? Harsh is taking your money for years and then telling you that you don't deserve a place in the will because you're doing well. That is harsh." Mark opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I pushed my cart and walked past him. I had nothing else to say. 6 months after cutting everything off, I was better than I had been in years. Less stress, more calm, more money, more life. I started dating a man I met through work, Daniel. A calm, stable guy. And the best part, he didn't need me to fix his life or pay for anything for him. I sold my Mercedes and bought a new car. This time not to show off, but for pleasure. An Audi convertible, red, gorgeous. I went on vacation to the Riviera Maya, something I had postponed for years because I was always waiting in case something comes up with the family. This time I went without that background anxiety, without calls in the night, without invented emergencies. The best part was the silence. Without messages of it broke down. Without we can't afford it. Without help us just a little. My money was mine again. I heard through the grapevine that my parents were still struggling. My dad's paycheck wasn't enough for everything, and they were talking about selling the house and moving to a smaller apartment. The house that I finished paying off for them. I felt pity. Sometimes, they are my parents. But then I would remember that dinner, the manila folder, the tone with which they said I didn't need anything, the way they justified leaving me out as if my effort didn't count. I remembered years of receiving my money without gratitude, years of pointing out the flaws in my life while living off my work, years of treating me like an ATM, not a daughter, and then… No, I didn't feel pity. I felt peace. The only thing I regret is not having done it sooner. I should have put a stop to it the first time they took without thanking, the first time they made me feel that my value depended on fitting the mold they wanted. Now I understood it clearly. To them, I was a resource, not a person. But that's over. My money, my life, my rules. Hi, I'm Lily. I'm the youngest of the family, and although I don't understand a lot of grown-up things, I did understand something that hurt. We wanted my Aunt Alexis close, but we treated her as if her effort was worthless, as if helping was an obligation and not an act of love. When she left, the house stayed the same, but it felt empty. Over time, I learned that family isn't about holding out your hand and demanding, but caring, thanking, and respecting boundaries, even if it's hard. If someone supports you, tell them thank you for real, without rushing and without hidden interests. And if you are the one who supports, you also deserve to be seen, heard, and treated with love. Thanks for joining us in this story. Sending you a big, sincere hug.